Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Phyllis Summers moved like a force of red-headed destruction through the Grand Phoenix that night, her heels echoing like war drums against polished marble floors, as she clutched the tiny USB drive that had suddenly become the most dangerous object in Genoa City. It wasn't the size of the device that mattered, barely the length of her finger. It was the radioactive truth inside it. Secrets Cain Ashby had kept hidden for years, files encrypted under layers of paranoia, transfers no one was supposed to see, recordings never meant to surface, and a trail of betrayals that stretched further than anyone could have imagined. Phyllis hadn't meant to find it. She wasn't even supposed to be anywhere near Cain's forgotten laptop in the Phoenix office. But when had she ever stayed out of something that smelled like scheming? And so she'd inserted the USB out of sheer curiosity, telling herself she was just checking inventory files or maybe digging for dirt on a personal rival, because Phyllis always justified her chaos with some half-plausible excuse. But when the screen exploded with documents, emails, stolen Newman files, bank statements, evidence of secret meetings with people Victor would consider mortal enemies, and even a hidden folder labeled insurance, Phyllis knew immediately she was holding a bomb. Now, as she stormed into Crimson Lights where Cain had been pretending to enjoy a peaceful cup of coffee, she felt the power shift entirely into her hands. Her voice, sharp enough to cut glass, sliced through the cafe's cozy atmosphere as she slapped the USB onto Cain's table and hissed, "Give it to me. Give me the truth or I swear I will burn down everything you've tried to hide." Cain's face drained of color faster than a man caught red-handed in daylight. He darted his eyes toward the door, toward the windows, toward anyone who might overhear, but Phyllis leaned in, pinning him with that famously lethal stare. "Don't even think about running," she warned, "because I already made a copy, Cain. This isn't the only one." Cain, looking cornered and desperate, reached for the drive, but she slapped his hand away, snatching it back as if it were priceless treasure. "You think you've got problems now? Wait until Victor, Devin, Jill, and half of Genoa City see what's in here." Phyllis whispered. "You thought you could play all sides. You thought no one would ever dig this deep. You were wrong." Cain knew Phyllis was many things, chaotic, impulsive, relentless, but she wasn't lying. Not about this. And he could practically see his life collapsing around him as panic took hold. He begged her to calm down, to talk privately, to negotiate. But Phyllis only leaned back and enjoyed the show. She'd been wronged enough times in this town to savor the rare opportunity to make someone else sweat. She explained in that slow, controlled voice that always came right before she detonated a situation, that the USB didn't just contain his secrets. It contained secrets that implicated others. Victor's previous schemes, Devin's financial vulnerabilities, Jill's old Chancellor Industries maneuvers, even traces of a cover-up involving Lily that could reignite a scandal the family had buried years ago. And somehow Cain had collected all of it. "Why?" she demanded. "Why were you gathering dirt like some corporate squirrel storing nuts for winter?" Cain's breath shook as he admitted that he was being blackmailed by someone Phyllis would never expect. But she didn't buy it. She accused him of playing the victim, of orchestrating another classic Cain plot. One where he fakes innocence while everyone else pays the price. The cafe door swung open then, and in walked Billy Abbott, freezing mid-step when he saw the tension between them. Billy had always had a radar for Phyllis's "I'm about to ruin everything" energy, and tonight it was blaring like a siren. "Should I be worried?" Billy asked, narrowing his eyes. Phyllis smirked. "Only if your name is mentioned in Cain's private files." Cain practically jumped out of his seat, begging Billy not to get involved, but Billy caught on instantly. "What did you do now, Cain?" he asked. The moment escalated when Phyllis rose from her chair and declared loudly enough for everyone to hear, "This USB contains enough evidence to blow up the Newmans, the Chancellors, and the Abbotts in one single hit." Heads turned. Conversations paused. Cain nearly fainted. Billy looked like someone had slapped him awake. Phyllis, enjoying the chaos she'd created, pocketed the USB again and warned Cain that if he didn't give her a full explanation within the next hour, she'd march straight to Victor's office and personally hand him the drive. "Victor would love this kind of ammunition," she said. Cain was shaking now, sweat collecting along his hairline. "Phyllis, you don't understand. I wasn't spying. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was trying to protect myself. Phyllis scoffed. Protect yourself? By collecting dirt like it's your hobby. Cain glanced toward the window again, scanning for a threat only he seemed to know about. And then his voice dropped low, trembling. If you expose what's on that USB, you won't just destroy me, you'll put a target on your own back. But Phyllis wasn't intimidated. She was already in full warrior mode. The only target I see is the one you painted on yourself, she hissed. She demanded to know who he was afraid of. Who was forcing him to gather evidence? Who was watching him? Cain tried to stall, but Billy grabbed him by the shoulder and growled. Start talking. The dam broke then. Cain confessed there was a third party, an extremely powerful one, who'd forced him to gather intel on several Genoa city families. He said they had leverage on him that could destroy him forever. But when he named the person behind the scheme, Billy swore under his breath and Phyllis went completely still. No, she whispered. That's impossible. But Cain insisted it was true. A figure tied to the darker corners of Genoa city's history. Someone with connections deep enough to topple empires. Someone who had stalked Cain's every move, ensuring he complied. And the USB was their insurance policy. A dead man's switch disguised as a neat little collection of files. Phyllis realized with dawning dread that if this mysterious puppet master learned she possessed the USB, they might come after her next. And yet, even with danger looming, her instinct wasn't fear. It was defiance. Let them try, she said coldly. Cain insisted she give him the USB so he could return it before things escalated. They'll know it's missing. They'll come after us all. But Phyllis refused. If someone out there is pulling strings, I'm going to find out who. And if you're lying to me, Cain, I swear I will expose every secret you've tried to bury. Billy stepped protectively beside Phyllis, backing her without hesitation. And that terrified Cain even more. Suddenly the door burst open again, this time with Devon rushing inside, his expression thunderous. He'd heard rumors, whispers, panic rippling through town that Phyllis was waving around a USB containing explosive truths. And when he locked eyes with Phyllis, he demanded to know whether there were files about him. Phyllis didn't answer. She didn't have to. Devon looked at Cain like he wanted to strangle him. Tension rose. Voices increased. The cafe became a pressure cooker. Sharon tried to calm everyone down, but the situation was spiraling. And Phyllis, powering through the chaos, raised her voice above them all. Everyone listen. This USB is a threat to all of us. And I'm not giving it back. Not until I know who's behind this and what they want. The room fell silent. The stakes became clear. The war lines were drawn. Cain collapsed back into his seat, defeated. Then God help us, he whispered. Because now they'll come for you, Phyllis. And when they do, you won't see it coming. But Phyllis only smiled. A dangerous, fearless smile. As she tapped the USB in her pocket and whispered, let them try. And with that, she strutted out into the night like a queen heading into battle, leaving Cain, Billy, Devon, Sharon, and everyone else trapped in the fear she just unleashed, knowing full well that this tiny piece of plastic had the power to tear Genoa City apart, and she intended to use every secret on it to her own advantage, no matter the consequences. Phyllis Summers strode through the night streets of Genoa City with a quiet fury simmering beneath her perfectly composed exterior, the USB clenched tightly in her hand as if the secrets inside it could somehow burn her if she weren't careful. And yet the thrill of holding absolute power over everyone who had ever underestimated her made her pulse race in a way that she hadn't felt in years, a mixture of fear, exhilaration, and the unmistakable taste of control. As she approached her car, she felt Cain's presence like a shadow behind her, the almost tangible aura of panic radiating from him. And when he finally spoke, it was with that rare desperation that betrayed the man who had always prided himself on scheming with precision. Phyllis, you have no idea what you're dealing with, he warned, his voice tight and trembling, as if he feared the truth itself might leap out of the USB and strike her down. But Phyllis didn't flinch, her gaze fixed firmly on the tiny device as if it were the center of the universe, and with a sly tilt of her head she responded, Cain, I've survived a lot in this city. And I've learned that it's always better to be the one holding the hammer than the one under it. You either tell me everything, or I let the world see the chaos you've been hiding. Cain groaned inwardly, realizing that Phyllis had already taken the first step into a game far more dangerous than any he'd ever played, and he knew he couldn't lie, Not anymore. Not when the stakes involved the people he cared about, the people he thought he could manipulate without consequence, and the very foundation of his life that now teetered on the edge of total collapse. He tried to plead with her, to convince her that some secrets were safer kept buried, that exposing them would unleash forces even they couldn't control, but Phyllis, her face an unreadable mask of determination and mischief, merely leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. You think I'm afraid of consequences? Kane, I've faced worse than anyone could throw at me, and I've always come out on top. You made a mistake keeping this from me, and now you're going to pay for it. As they argued, the city around them seemed to fade into insignificance. Streetlights flickered over the asphalt like spotlights on a stage, and the hum of distant traffic felt like a muted backdrop to the real drama unfolding between them, a drama that could end with careers ruined, families torn apart, and loyalties shattered. And when Kane finally admitted that the USB didn't just contain files on him or his friends, but evidence of clandestine deals involving Victor Newman himself, Phyllis's eyes sparkled with a dangerous glee, because she realized that she wasn't just holding leverage over Kane. She now had the potential to shake the very foundations of Genoa City's most powerful empire, and she could feel the weight of that power pressing against her chest like a living thing, exciting and terrifying all at once. But she didn't hesitate, because hesitation was a luxury she had long since abandoned, and she knew that in the moment she wavered, someone else would swoop in to take the USB and use it for their own purposes, leaving her out of the game entirely, a spectator rather than a player. And Phyllis Summers had never been content to watch from the sidelines, not in Genoa City, not ever. She demanded that Kane give her a full rundown of every person implicated, every secret recorded, every hidden transaction, and every file that could bring down families, fortunes, and reputations. And as he stammered through explanations, revealing names and dates, bank transfers, and confidential communications, she realized the web of deceit was far more intricate than she had anticipated, stretching like an invisible spider's net through multiple generations of Genoa City elites. And she could feel the magnitude of the chaos contained in the USB, threatening to consume everyone involved, including herself if she wasn't careful. And yet, instead of fear, she felt a rush of adrenaline, because for once, she was the one holding all the cards, the one dictating the pace, the one deciding who would rise and who would fall, and the thought made her smile with a wicked satisfaction that was impossible to hide. She demanded that Kane tell her about Victor's secret maneuvers, the backroom deals with business rivals, and the clandestine alliances that could destabilize not just Newman Enterprises but every family that depended on its stability. And as Kane spoke, revealing layer after layer of deception, Phyllis realized that she held not just a USB but a Pandora's box, and that opening it to the world could trigger a series of events that no one, not even her, could fully control. Yet the temptation was irresistible, because in her hands, secrets were not just information, they were power, currency, and ammunition, and she could use them to reshape the city in ways only she could imagine. Billy Abbott, who had insisted on accompanying her despite Kane's protests, watched in awe and concern, realizing that Phyllis had crossed a threshold from schemer to arbiter, that her hunger for truth and leverage had pushed her into a zone where morality, loyalty, and friendship were negotiable commodities. And as he glanced between Phyllis and Kane, he could feel the tension so thick it could choke a person, and he knew that whatever happened next, there would be no turning back, because once secrets this explosive were unleashed, the world of Genoa City would never be the same. As they continued their heated exchange, Devon arrived unexpectedly, having followed rumors of Phyllis's discovery, and his reaction was a mixture of disbelief and panic as he realized that the USB contained files implicating him as well, and he immediately demanded answers, demanding to know who had access, what the consequences could be, and whether Phyllis could be trusted with such incendiary information. But Phyllis, ever confident, assured him that she was in complete control, that she would reveal only what she deemed necessary, and that she intended to use the information strategically to protect herself and punish the guilty. And the audacity of her declaration left Devon momentarily speechless, torn between gratitude for her discretion and fear of the fallout. The conversation grew more intense when Kane revealed that the USB also contained incriminating data on Jill Abbott, including financial records and private correspondences that, if leaked, could destroy her business empire and reputation. And Phyllis's mind raced as she considered the possibilities, the leverage she now possessed, the potential alliances she could form, and the enemies she could expose. all while keeping the USB close as if it were a talisman of ultimate authority. And she realized that this moment marked a turning point in her life, a juncture where she could reshape the rules of engagement in Genoa City forever, and the responsibility was both exhilarating and terrifying. As the night wore on, tensions escalated further when Sharon and Nick Newman arrived, alerted by the commotion, and the room seemed to shrink under the combined weight of all the secrets and lies, with Phyllis standing at the center, a conductor orchestrating a symphony of fear, betrayal, and revelation, knowing that one wrong move, one misstep, and the delicate balance of power could shatter into chaos, and yet she remained unflinching, a master of manipulation, a strategist, a woman who had endured betrayal after betrayal and now held the ultimate weapon, a small piece of technology containing enough explosive evidence to change everything in Genoa City. The night stretched on with accusations, confessions, and demands as Phyllis methodically forced Kane to recount every meeting, every email, every interaction that had been secretly documented, while the others listened in a mixture of horror, disbelief, and reluctant admiration, understanding that they were witnessing a force of nature, a woman who had transformed fear into power, anger into leverage, and chaos into opportunity. And as she pocketed the USB once more, signaling that she had gathered all the information she needed, a tense silence fell over the group, punctuated only by the occasional shuffle of feet, the clearing of throats, and the unspoken acknowledgement that nothing would ever be the same again, because Phyllis Summers had taken control, and the secrets contained in Kane's USB were now a ticking time bomb capable of detonating the reputations, fortunes, and relationships of everyone in the room. And as she turned and walked into the night, leaving a trail of stunned faces and racing hearts behind her, she whispered under her breath, "Let them try to stop me because I'm just getting started." Knowing full well that the game had changed forever, and that Genoa City would never again underestimate her cunning, her courage, or her appetite for turning secrets into power, and the night air carried with it a sense of impending revelation, a promise of upheaval, and the unmistakable thrill of watching the dominoes of betrayal and truth tumble one by one under her command. And as she disappeared into the shadows, USB safely in her possession, she felt the intoxicating mix of danger, opportunity, and triumph, knowing that every secret she now controlled was another thread she could pull to unravel or reconstruct the lives of those foolish enough to think they could keep their sins hidden. And in that moment, Phyllis Summers was not just a woman holding a USB. She was the architect of chaos, the queen of revelation, and the unstoppable force destined to change Genoa City forever. Phyllis had barely reached the shadowed alley behind crimson lights when her phone buzzed violently in her purse, and she pulled it out to see a message that made her stomach twist with both excitement and dread. "We know what you have. Hand it over or everything you love will burn." Her lips curved into a smirk because threats were nothing new to her, but this one carried a weight she hadn't anticipated. Someone else, someone dangerous, someone powerful, had been watching, waiting, and now was stepping into the arena, demanding the USB she had fought tooth and nail to secure. Kane's earlier panic replayed in her mind, but now it felt almost trivial compared to the storm heading her way. She typed back a single word, sharp and confident: "Try." Every step she took down the alley echoed determination. She could feel the thrill of the hunt coursing through her veins, the intoxicating sense that she controlled the narrative, that she alone decided who lived with secrets intact, and who fell under the weight of exposure. And yet a flicker of doubt crept in, because in a city like Genoa, there were always players hidden in the shadows, waiting for a single misstep to exploit, a single lapse to seize control. Phyllis clenched the USB tighter, feeling its cold plastic case against her palm like a lifeline, and she whispered to herself, "Let them come. Let them all see what happens when someone underestimates Phyllis Summers." She knew that in the coming hours alliances would shift, loyalties would be tested, and enemies, old and new, would reveal themselves, each trying to claim a piece of the explosive secrets she now held. But she was ready, sharper than ever, fearless in a way that only someone who had survived betrayal, heartbreak, and near ruin could be. Somewhere in the distance she thought she heard a car door slam, a shadow detach itself from the darkness, and her pulse quickened, not from fear but from anticipation. The game had escalated, the stakes had risen, and the tiny USB in her hand had become the ultimate currency of power in a city built on lies, ambition, and deception. And as she disappeared further into the night, Phyllis Summers felt an exhilarating certainty. She wasn't just surviving Genoa City anymore. She was redefining it, one secret at a time, and no one, not Cain, not Victor, not anyone who thought they could control her, would stand in her way without paying the price.